Hi everybody, welcome to week 6. This week we're going to be talking about Instagram. Now I do have a personal account on Instagram, but it's set to private. It's mostly just family stuff. I do have a public account called Allie Makes, so you can feel free to follow me there if you'd like to. If you guys want to share in the Facebook group your Instagram accounts that you're using, whether it's for your brand or your own personal use, you can feel free to share your username in the Facebook discussion so that people can keep up with you after the class is over and we can all see what you're up to. This week we are going to be covering just an overview. We're going to talk about goals, account setup, content plan, advertising. We're also going to talk about tools, and then we're going to go through your assignment really quickly. First off, why are we talking about Instagram in a Facebook course? For those of you that don't know, Facebook now owns Instagram. The two platforms are intimately linked based on the advertising platform. So all of the advertising that you do on Instagram is through Facebook. I can only assume that there will be more integrations as things move forward, but really the fact that Instagram's advertising platform is through Facebook is the biggest within the Facebook course. A little bit about Instagram just in terms of basic statistics. There are over 600 million people who use Instagram every month, and 400 million people use Instagram every day. Did I say 6 million or 600 million? 600 million people who use it every month, 400 million who use it every day. 80% of the people who are on Instagram follow some sort of business. So this is really important to know that your business isn't just on Instagram in vain. People are actually following businesses that are doing great content. And 150 million or more Instagram users use stories every day. So stories is the feature of Instagram that is very much like Snapchat, where you can post something, it doesn't appear in your feed, it only appears to people who are following you across a bar on the top of your Instagram account, and it disappears within 24 hours. So there's right now, as of recording this video, brands have better engagement. So 4% of their total followers will engage with them regularly on Instagram. And if you compare that to Facebook engagement stats, which is typically about 0.1% engagement, you can see that there is a reason for brands to be on Instagram when it comes to reaching out to their target audience, because they're getting better engagement. Okay, so I've got an infographic here. Let's take a look at it. Why is it not popping up? There we go. So this is from Social Media Today. Website seems to not be loading properly on my computer. So this is just an overview. I've included this in your readings for this week as well, in case you want to check back on it. So we've already kind of gone through this basic stat information, but it's really important to know that consumers, or people, we like to think of them as people, are flocking to Instagram. 33% of the people who are on the internet use Instagram, so that's a pretty decent penetration rate. We're looking at US stats here, so more than 80 million people in the US use Instagram, but 80% of Instagram users are outside of the United States, so it is still a global market. So if you're working on a Canadian specific brand, or maybe you're in Australia or you're in the UK, wherever you are going to have users geographically targeted to your location that are using Instagram. And the average user spends about 25 minutes per day on Instagram. And I totally believe that number, because for those of you who've been on Instagram, or for those of you who are really kind of into Instagram, you can lose minutes, if not hours, very quickly. More than 60% of users log in daily. So that's pretty good numbers. I mean, Facebook, most people are logging in daily, but the fact that you've got more than half of the people who use Instagram are using it daily, you know that having fresh content is fine on Instagram. The split is pretty much 50-50. I'm not sure that I would call this a statistically significant difference in male versus female users. So it's pretty much 50-50. So if you are targeting men or women, Instagram is a logical place for you to be. If your marketing personas tell you that your users are likely on Instagram. Now, here's something that's interesting. 90% of users are under 35. And based on the stats that I've seen both on my personal accounts and on branded accounts, so any of my clients' accounts that I've looked at, this is very true. Their users are usually in the 25 to 35-year-old range. There are definitely people that are outside of those age ranges using Instagram. My mother is on Instagram, my friends are on Instagram, my cousins are on Instagram. They fall into the older 35 category. So, though the majority of the users are under 35, there's still 10% of 600 million plus people that are not within that age group and on Instagram. So, just because you have potentially a demographic that's older than 35 years old doesn't mean you shouldn't be on Instagram. So that's where your marketing personas come in, and that's where it comes in, where you need to learn more about the people that are actually following you, that are currently engaged. This is where user surveys can come in to see where people are, and this is where testing out different platforms can be important. On average, people miss over 70% of their feeds. So this means when people are scrolling through Instagram, if they're following a lot of people, they might get tired of kind of scrolling through, or they might get sidetracked and not see everything that's on their feed. So this is where your advertising can come in handy to boost your posts and make sure that people are seeing it. And it's also where posting more often is okay, and also posting content that you've posted before after a significant period has passed. So there are definitely a lot of people that I follow on Instagram where I've been scrolling through and I'm like, I think I've seen this recipe before, for example. But that's okay, because you might have missed it, or maybe you've forgotten about it, or you need to be re-inspired. So if every other month you might repost something, that's okay, because people are missing 70% of their feeds. And then again, the average engagement rate is 4.3%, which is fairly high for any social media platform currently. Instagram is growing, and this is I think a good thing in terms of marketing. It's growing faster than any other social network in the US, but then again, the ones that people seem to be sticking with, which is the Facebooks, Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram. Instagram is fairly new, just like Snapchat is fairly new, so you do expect some growth. You don't expect to see growth stats from Facebook, because like half of the world or more is on Facebook right now, so we don't expect to see very high growth rates. But we know that Instagram isn't considered a fad anymore. It's something that people are using. It's still growing, and we are seeing engagement. 50% of most major brands are using Instagram, but by 2018, we're expecting to see that in the marketing world move up to closer to 70%. So a lot of brands that have big budgets are using Instagram, and a lot of people who have smaller budgets are using Instagram from a business perspective. So businesses are finding it a valuable place for people to be. The average account grows by 16% per month. So growth on Instagram is a thorn in my side. I'm seeing a lot of people doing some pretty shady practices. There are a lot of the hashtag follow for follow. There's a lot of people buying their Instagram followers. And then there are a lot of people playing a game called follow unfollow. And I hate it more than anything. And I'll talk about it again later when we actually go through and do a demo of a business Instagram account, just for you to see the back end. But basically what happens is people will start following you just to get you to follow them back. And as soon as you follow them back, they'll unfollow you. Or after a couple of days, they'll just unfollow you. And so this is a tactic that people are using to grow their followers. And I just find it to be really, really shady. I like to follow accounts that I legitimately like. I follow a lot of accounts on Instagram because for me, I want to find accounts that inspire me. I want to find accounts of people that I know. And I want to find accounts that they just speak to me, and they have really awesome recipes, or they have really great photos, or it's something that I follow them because I want to see what they're up to, not because I want them to follow me back. If they do follow me back, that's great, but that's not my MO for following people in the first place. So although the average account might grow by 16% per month, I find that that growth is up and down. And I'll show you my stats later on, and you'll see that there are peaks and valleys and peaks and valleys. And in the period of a day, I can gain 30 followers and lose a different 20 followers. So it's really, really crazy. And I think especially in the beginning, when you're new to Instagram and you're if you're just starting to grow a brand, it can be very up and down. If you are an existing brand with an existing following on Facebook, or if you have a great e-newsletter where people, or a website that people are always looking at, you're an established brand, I think that your following will probably be a little bit more regular and not so up and down. So that's something to keep into consideration when you're setting your goals and when you're looking at your performance on Instagram, because if you are a brand new brand, you're just starting to build something, which I know some of you in this course are. I know a lot of you are just starting something new, whether it's a book club or you're starting to promote a real estate agent, or all of these newer things that some of you are doing, promoting your YouTube channels, things like that. You are probably going to see a lot of up and down from people playing these really annoying follow me, don't follow me, I'm going to unfollow you games. So my advice to you is, if you stay true to yourself, you stay true to your brand, you know why you want to be following people on Instagram, eventually you will see a much more regular following. So I think that's good for this section. So brands and influencers are really starting to use Instagram. So 90% of Interbrands, what they call the top 100 global brands, are using Instagram. And you see that 80% of the top 100 brands on Instagram are posting on at least a weekly basis. So posting schedules on Instagram, I really feel like you got to find the mix that works best for your brand. And it really needs to be based on the types of content that you have and that are available. If you are, let's say you have you're a real estate company, and you have maybe like one showing a week, let's say, do you really need to be posting 6 times a day? Probably not. So you want to find things that work best for you. If you've got a new home on the market, maybe you want to post a new photo every day of a different room in that house. That would be really cool for people to kind of see like a slow showing of the house. Or maybe you post a really quick video tour that's, maybe 30 to 45 seconds long, because you can post longer videos now on Instagram. So maybe you've got a really cool walkthrough of a house, and then you can also show little details of each room, and that could be your content. If you're posting once a day and you've got the content for it, and it's new content and it's relevant content and it's well produced, I think that you can definitely do that. Do I think that you necessarily need to be posting like at once every hour? No, that's crazy. And you probably want to be posting more than once a month. So you have to find what works best for your brand, but knowing that most big brands are posting at least on a weekly basis. So maybe aim, if you're brand new to Instagram, aim for once a week a new post. So that can give you a place to start at. 53% of Instagram users will follow their favorite brands. So this is because brands know that they need to be visual and they need to provide content that people want to see. So you need to keep these things in mind when you're producing your content. And 24% of influencers voted Instagram to be the best platform for influencer marketing. So if you have a product that you're trying to get out to different influencers, Instagram is the place to do that right now. We're seeing a lot of, if you've spent any time on Instagram following any of the, quote, Instagram influencers, you'll see, things for detox teas or for waist trainers, or like all these kind of like fashion lifestyle type things. But that doesn't mean that that's where influencer marketing stops on Instagram. If you are a clothing company and you want to highlight, a new shirt or a new accessory like a watch or something like that, Instagram can be the place where you can do some research, reach out to certain people, and use those influencers to market your brand if you have the budget for it. So it does mean giving away free product. It does mean working to build those relationships so that, you know, somebody's just like, oh, cool, another free thing I got, I'm just going to post about it. You know, think about your influencer marketing strategy before you say, here's my free thing, please talk about it on Instagram. 36% of B2C brands consider Instagram to be very important or critical to their marketing. And I really like that they used a photo of Starbucks for this one. I don't know how many times I've seen Starbucks cups posted on Instagram with people's names spelt wrong. And I personally believe that the spelling your name wrong on the cup is a marketing ploy so that people take a photo of their cup. And that's free marketing for Starbucks every time somebody does that. My name is Allie. You can spell it a bunch of different ways, but I've had Hallie, I've had Katrina, I've had Sammy. Like, it doesn't really matter what name they put on that because people are going to think it's funny. They're going to snap a photo and they're going to post it on their Instagram account. So Starbucks, I think, has kind of nailed it in terms of how they use, how they know what their consumer behavior is, and they leverage those actions for free marketing. And quite frankly, I think it's brilliant. And then 13% of B2B brands consider Instagram to be very important or critical. So you can do a lot to show off your products and your services using Instagram. You might need to think outside the box for your brand. GoPro seems like a really obvious choice to be on Instagram because they always have really cool content. They work with a lot of really awesome athletes and extreme sports enthusiasts. I think they have a partnership with Red Bull, or at least they did have a partnership with Red Bull. And so you know that the Red Bull Extreme Sports always has amazing visuals. So GoPro highlighting what their customers are doing or highlighting the businesses that they work with their product can be a really important thing on Instagram. So these are just some more stats for you to maybe take back to your boss or your decision maker, your clients, whomever it is that you need to convince that Instagram is the right place to be. Here's some information for you. And again, like I said, it'll be included in your additional reading section. So this as well is really important. So knowing that Instagram's engagement with a brand is 10 times higher than on Facebook, 54 times higher than on Pinterest, and 84 times higher than on Twitter. So right now, Instagram is the place to be. And this is by far the most astonishing stat that I've seen about Instagram. Although I believe it, my mind is blown that some Instagram influencers are charging up to $100,000 per post. I would say that this would be like the Kim Kardashian et al. People of the world that are charging this much per post. And if a brand is willing to pay that, that's for them to decide. They obviously have crunched the numbers and determined what it's worth to have some crazy influencer talking about their brand on Instagram. So there is money to be spent and made through Instagram. And so I'm not going to go through the rest of this because you guys can read it for yourself. But there is one thing that I wanted to highlight, and that is the brain processes image 60,000 times faster than it does text. So people really remember what they see visually. And I know that there are definitely people out there that are posting a lot of quotes that are text-based, and that's fine. But you really want to think about the visuals for your brand. If you're going to be posting text quotes, what is the brand image? Like, what are the colors that you're going to be using? What are the fonts that you're going to be using? How long are your quotes going to be? Thinking about these types of things are all very important so that people have a visual representation of what your brand is. So this is an infographic that you can refer back to. All right, what's next? So let's talk about setting up your Instagram account. We'll go through this really quickly. So this is an Instagram profile page. You have a profile pic, which is number 1 up here. Let me just get my laser pointer. So this is your profile photo. You've got your username. You have your bio. You've got the ability to link. So this is whether you are a business account or not. You can link to a bio. You can link to a website. And then you'll be able to see how many posts that you make. So these are all of your posts. You can view it as a grid, or if you click on the list button, you see them individually and you have to scroll through. You can see how many posts you've made, how many followers you have, and how many people that you're following. So this is the basic Instagram profile. When you switch over to a business account, what you do in your settings, you get access to advertisements, insights, and then you can add additional information like contact information, adding more details for a website. You can put in an email, you can put in a location, things like that. So your typical business contact information. All right, let's take a look at the business backend. Okay, so let's take a quick look at Instagram. So I've opened it on my phone here, and for those of you who don't have an Instagram account, this is what you see when you open Instagram. So you have your feed. So these are all of the different people that I'm following. You can go through and like just by double tapping on the photo or by pressing the little heart button. And you'll also see that there are sponsored posts in your feed. So this post right here is a sponsored post. You can tell because right underneath the username secret.wood, there's a little sponsor tag, and you can click on the watch more button and a link will load. So that is what this is a version of an advertisement of what it looks like. So we can close that and it takes me right back to Instagram. So it didn't open my Safari app on my phone. It simply took me to a feed, a web page that was still within the Instagram family. So if you use Facebook on an iPhone, for example, the same type of thing happens. You don't actually leave Facebook. It pops up in a Facebook browser. So this is Instagram. So then you can look, this is my account page. So I've got my silly photo. I've got a little bit of information about what this is all about. I have a link to a blog post that I've done recently, and then just photos that are here. So you can see across the top, this is a business account. So I have the option to promote and I have the option to look at analytics. So let's take a look at what the analytics looks like. So I just clicked on the chart at the top. And this is an overview, and it gives you the last 7 days. So at the very top, you can see that over the last week, I had 984 impressions. My reach was 365. I had 151 profile views and 1 website click. You can see the different posts, and if I click on the See More button, it'll show my top posts. And then that's based on impressions. And if you want to, you can click on impressions and you can get more information. So you can apply different filters. So you can say, oh, I only want to see my carousel posts or my videos, my photos, or everything. I can sort by reach. I can sort by engagement. And then if you forget what these different names mean, you can always click on the what do these mean button, which I think is a really great feature here in Instagram, which you don't necessarily get in other backend analytics, that it's so easy for you to find. So these are what each of the metrics means. So impressions is the total number of times your post has been seen. Reach is the total number of unique accounts that have seen your post. So this is really important. So impressions includes people who come back or see it more than once. So maybe these people have just been flipping through the feed and it showed up and then they went away and they came back and they went and scrolled through their feed again and you showed up again in their feed because they just scrolled through that much. Or maybe it's because they're coming specifically to your profile to look at something. So for example, there are several food and recipe type blogs that I follow on Instagram, and I often go back to the same accounts to find their specific recipes that I'm looking for because I want to make it for dinner or for a snack or something like that. So those people would see impressions go up, but their reach go down. Reach would stay the same for me. So I would go and say, look at the same photo 3 times. Their impressions would go up by 3, but their reach would stay the same because I've already viewed it. Engagement is the number of unique accounts that have liked, saved, or commented on your post. And then saved is the number of unique accounts that have saved your posts. So we'll talk about that in just a second. So then you can hit apply and then your information will change. So I really like this feature. It's really great. It's at a glance. And you can click on each of the photos to get a better look at the information. So you can see, all right, here are my likes. Here are the people that have commented, and so that's a look at those. You can also, I don't really post a lot of stories because I find that it's just not in my content plan right now, but you can get information about your stories here. And then you can get impressions or reach, taps forward, taps back, exit, replies, etc. And you can search just based on the past 24 hours, 7 days, or 14 days. And then you can also take a look at your followers, and you can get more information about these. So you can see the gender split, you can see the age range, and you can sort that by male and female. You can see the locations of people either based on country or by city, which I think is really great. This is especially good if you want to do like location-based promotions, or if you're trying to reach out to people in real life, or you're thinking maybe we'll do an event. Just like with Facebook, you can see how many people are based in a location. With Instagram, you can do the same thing. So you know, hey, I've got a lot of people in Toronto. So if I ever wanted to do an event, or maybe, I wanted to go to a craft show in Toronto and hawk my wares, Toronto would be a good location to do that because I know that I have a lot of followers in Toronto. And then this is great too. So just like in Facebook, where you can go through your posts and find out, when are my users most likely going to be online, you can do this for Instagram as well. And that's what this chart at the bottom is. So you can sort hours, and that gives you day by day, which time is the best time to post for your followers. So for me, on Sundays, the best day for me to post or best time for me to post if I want to hit the most number of people is going to be kind of around 1 o'clock, or maybe later in the day around 7. And then I can change the day by just clicking on the little arrows beside the day. So I can see, just what hour of the day most people are on. And then I can also switch over, just click on days, and I can see which days are when most of my followers are online. So Saturday seems to be like a big day. Monday seems to be like a big day. Surprisingly, Fridays are not the biggest day. I would personally think Fridays would be a big day because that's people, it's Friday, it's the weekend. I want to see what people are up to. I want to get inspired for the weekend, but maybe people are trying to relive their weekend on Mondays to see what people do. And again, you can click on the what do these mean, and you can get more information about each of those metrics. So this is really handy, especially if you're new to using Instagram metrics, because all of the information is right here. So you can also look at your promotions. So I've done a couple of promotions before, and it was really early on, so I didn't, necessarily get the most out of my promotions because I still had a really small following, but I did it as a test just to see what would happen. So you can take a look at your promotions, and you can see that the post was viewed 558 times, 56 times. And I think at this time I only had about like maybe 50 followers on my Instagram account. So this was really in the beginning. So, I mean, I think I only paid $1. Yeah, I only paid $1 for this. So I got 2 clicks. So it cost me 50 cents per click, which was, not ideal, but it was obviously just a test. So I wanted to see what worked. So my impressions and my reach are the same number. So you can make so this wasn't showed to multiple people. This was only shown to unique viewers. So that's why my impression and my reach is the same. And then engagement, so that's likes, comments, and saves. So then this was the original. So this was, so it shows you the difference between this is your promoted post and how it did, and then the original, this is how it did. So organically, without paying for it, my post was viewed 90 times and it reached 66 accounts. So you can see that multiple people went back and looked at it. So that's why the impression and the reach numbers are different. And then I had 41 engagements. So I had 1 comment and 40 likes. So that is how you can get information about your advertisements that you do on Instagram. So if we keep hitting the back button, we get back to your profile, and you can see that there are a couple of different things here. So I can hit a promote button and create a promotion based on one of my photos. I can edit my profile, which anybody can do. So that's the information that everybody has access to, whether you're a business account or not. And then these are my posts. So one thing I wanted to show you as well is that you've got this, so you can look at your post or your feed as a grid. You can look at your feed as individual photos. You can see photos of you that are tagged. So when people tag you in a photo, they'll show up here. And as well, you have this new feature, which is saved. So you can save things just individually, or you can save things into collections. So that's what I've started to do, is because you can't, there are no lists. So for example, in Twitter, you can create lists so that you can, look at all of your social media marketing Twitter accounts in one view. You can't do that yet with Instagram. So I've created a collection called favorite accounts. So I know that, when I go onto Instagram, I often click on my favorite accounts and then I go through each one. It's not necessarily about the photos that I've saved. It's really just about the accounts. So I know that I can go to the Sweetwater Inn and check up on her most recent photos and make sure that I like it. This is my friend Miriam. She runs Bed and Breakfast in Marquette, Michigan. And so I always like to see what she's up to. She makes the most amazing food, and she always has really great photos. So you want to support the people that support you back. So that's what I've done with this. And then I've also got, all of these different collections. So, there are some sweets that I want to make or some food that I want to make, things like that. So you can do this with yours too, and I'll show you how to do that. So when you are in your feed and you're browsing through and you find something that you like, you hit the little, the bookmark button. And if you press and hold, then you can save it to any of your, existing collections, or you can press the plus button and create a new collection. So I find this feature to be really, really handy. I like it quite a bit. So that's pretty cool. So let's take a look at how to post something. So I have a new blog post that I want to promote. So what am I going to do? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to edit my profile. And here is what I do if I'm posting directly from my phone and I haven't set it up in, Buffer or Hootsuite or Planoly or any type of tool to remind me. I have a little, in my notes app, I have everything that I need for my posts. So I've got my link, do that. And then I go back to my Instagram, I hit edit profile, and I change the link in my bio to my newest, and then I test it to make sure that it works. So that's going to where I want it to go. And then the next thing I do is I put my photo in. So I've got my photo. And I've already edited it in my photo editing app, so on my computer. So I've already kind of played around with the lighting because the lighting wasn't perfect when I was taking this photo. So I've just kind of amped up the brightness a little bit. I made sure that it wasn't too warm toned because the lighting wasn't perfectly white light. It had a little bit of a yellowy look to it, so I pulled all of that stuff out. So this is the actual photo that I want to use, and then I'm going to hit my next button. So then I can write my caption. And so you just tap on the right caption area, and this is where you fill in all of your information. You put in your caption, and then what I often do, and this is a style thing that I like, because I don't like having all of the hashtags kind of jammed up where people are going to see them. I like to just add some periods to move all of the hashtags down. I find that it just looks cleaner. And then I've got all of my hashtags already written down in my notes app, so I can just copy these and paste them right here. And, you know, I've decided, oh, maybe I'm going to add like a little emoji in here. Where are my hearts at? So then if I wanted to, I could post this directly to Facebook or directly to Twitter, which I don't have set up. And it's up to you whether or not you want to be posting things from Instagram to Facebook every time. For this one, I'm not going to, because it's set up specifically for Instagram by saying tutorial link in my bio. That's not going to make sense on Facebook because I could just post a link to the actual blog on Facebook. So that's what I'll end up doing. So for this one, I'm not going to post it to Facebook. So I'm happy with how everything looks. I can hit my share button, and now that's going out into the world. And one thing that is handy, just in case you didn't know, if you click on the 3 dots at the top of the page, you can edit your post. So if you realize you made a spelling mistake or something like that, or something doesn't look exactly how you want it to look, you can quickly do a quick edit on it. And there you go. So people can click on the more and they get more information. And then when they go to Ali Makes, they've got the link right there in my bio to go to that specific tutorial. So I eventually will promote this post, but I want to see how it does organically first, because I don't know if people will like that photo or if it will resonate with people. So I like to see how these posts work first before I hit the promote button. Okay, so we've gone through the bio, we've gone through posting. Let's take a look at what this little heart is. So this is your notifications, so you can see where people have liked your posts. You can see if people have commented on your post. People started following you, all that type of stuff. And so this is where you can get, you know, some ideas for new people to follow. If you are, you know, looking for that, you can go through and check to see, oh, you know, what type of account is this person? Her stuff kind of looks cool. I'm going to give her a follow, and just see if I continue enjoying what her content is. So this is where you can get all of your notifications. And then as well, so this is when you are on the you side. If you click over onto following, you can see what your followers are doing. So you can see that A Simple Pantry has liked a bunch of different photos. I really like this because I can say, oh, you know, I really like this follower. I think that we have similar tastes, or I think that they're relevant to my brand. So you can click on some of the posts that they are liking and say, oh, that's, you know, I like tea and madeleines, so, you know, maybe this is a good account for me to also follow. Maybe I'll start following that person. And once you start following somebody, you'll get suggestions based on those follows. So you can click through and kind of see what those different accounts are like, and you can start following them if they seem relevant to you. Okay, so then we can, oh, look at that pretty flower. See, very distractible, this platform. So then if you want to search for things, you can go to the magnifying glass. So you can see across the top, these are people who have new stories that you might like. And to see a story, you just click on the account and it will load. And you can kind of flip through and see all of the different suggestions that are here. So, you know, those are the Instagram stories. And then these are also some trending topics that Instagram thinks I might like based on my other likes. So you can go through and tap them to see kind of what they're all about. You can click through to the actual account to see what they're up to, and you can see that they've got all sorts of pretty things posted. If you're not finding anything that you like through here, you can also use the search tool, and you can either find the top suggested people that you already follow. You can go through some of the recent posts that you've used or that you've searched for. So, you might want to search for social media or Instagram tips. Did I spell it all right? And then you can see that there are some accounts you can search by people, so people who have Instagram tips in their name, or you can search for tags. So this is like where your hashtags come into play. So you can click on Instagram tips and see what people are talking about. So these are the top posts up in the top section here. So you get 9 top posts, and these will change over time. And so you can click and take a look at what is what's being posted there. You can also click through the most recent and see if any of these are relevant to you. Now, I would be discerning about searching for tips for Instagram on Instagram, because people sometimes spam their keywords, so you're not necessarily going to find things that are perfect. Gary Vee is always a really good option of who to look at and who to follow. And so if your social media account if it's relevant for you to follow Gary Vee, maybe you want to do it on your personal account to get tips and information, you can do that too. So that is a way to find additional content. On Instagram, what else? We also have direct messages. So when you're on your home feed, you can click on your little paper plane button, and these are different conversations that you've had. I'm not going to click into them for privacy reasons, but you can send messages to people. You can click on the plus button and search for whoever you want to send a message to, or you can just click the check mark button and then hit your next button and start writing your message. You can send photos. You can say, oh, is this the person that I for sure want to be sending my message to? Yes, it is. Okay. So that is direct messages as well. Okay, so the next thing that you want to do is set your goals. So you've got your Instagram account. Set up your goals. Well, really you want to be thinking about your goals first, but I assume that most of you are on Instagram and you're looking to be more strategic, so let's talk about your goals. So you want to think about, why are you using Instagram in the first place? Are you going to be building a community? Do you want to showcase your products or your services? Are you trying to create brand awareness? Do you want brand reinforcement? So this is how Buffer uses their Instagram account, is for reinforcing the brand cultures and their values. Do you want to use it for advertising purposes so that you can get sales or website clicks or whatever it is that you're trying to do with your advertisements? Are you trying to give people news and updates about your brand? Or do you want to showcase your skills? So the art-based community is really good at doing this, for example. So why are you on Instagram? You really want to sit down and think about that. You have to keep in mind that Instagram is highly visual. So if you take a look at the different types of things that people are posting on Instagram and doing really well, it's because they are incredibly visual. So, these are different images, and they're all sponsors. So these are all sponsored images that I actually ended up stopping on in my feed. So for me, I thought that this was really interesting. There was somebody taking a photograph. I wanted to know where these people were. I wanted to know more about this view that she might be seeing. And it turns out that it is a Panama Tourism Commission, and I actually clicked on the link and found out more about Panama. So that was really interesting. I really enjoyed this visual. This was an older one from a couple months ago. So WWF Canada does the CN Tower climb every year as a fundraiser. So instead of doing, their 5K or the 10K or the bike races or whatever, they do this CN Tower climb. And I thought that it was a really great visual of a person standing at the bottom of the stairs feeling motivated and ready to go. You've got a picture of a cheetah that is one of the animals that WWF is trying to protect, but it's also, you know, on the top of the mound looking like it's accomplished something. I thought that this was just a really good visual set. And then charge cords, I thought it was pretty cheeky. It definitely spoke to me as an Apple user because, you know, I use Apple because I started at a company that had a bunch of Apple stuff, and it was just easier for me to be on Apple. It's really great for photo editing and things like that, website design. But there are some real issues, like the cord's always snapping on your phone. So I thought that this was really cheeky. And it was also a really great visual. It caught my attention because this happens to me all the time. And I also think that they did a really good job of highlighting their product. There's a lot of bright colors. The lighting is much better than on the junky Apple cord. So they did a good job of highlighting the visuals. And then it's a shop now link where you instantly click and you go and you buy the thing that solves your problem. So that was really good job. Visual really means branding, so you need to know what your brand vibe is. In your additional reading section, I've included some links to some templates and some tips about how to sort out your brand identity. So this is like, what photos do you use? What text are you using? What types of colors are you using? What visuals? So what are all of the different elements that makes up your brand in terms of the visuals and the tone and the feel. And we're not going to go through this through brand identity for this course just because we just don't have the time, but there are a lot of great resources out there for you to use. You want to think about the quality of the photos and the videos that you are posting. Things don't have to be professionally shot or professionally edited or anything like that, but you do want to keep in mind that there needs to be some level of quality. You don't want to be posting grainy photos. You want things to be properly lit. Lighting is everything. If you you just Google like social media photography tips, the number one tip on any of those lists is that lighting is everything. You want to think about the colors. So if you look at the Buffer account, you'll see that colors are really, really important. They always have these like really vibrant colors. The white balance is always really great. And then also think about what filters you want to be using. So, you know, maybe part of your brand identity in the beginning is making sure that you've got really good lighting, good white balance on your photos, and then every photo you post uses the same filter, because that can help overlay a certain color and a certain vibe and a feel, so that even if you don't have access to a professional editor who can like make certain colors pop for you in your photos, or make sure that, you know, you've got the perfect white balance, you've at least got filters that you can use to create some consistency across your brand. So let's take a look at who's really nailing it, in my opinion. I think that there are some accounts, there's tons of accounts, but these are ones that stand out to me. Nectar and Stone is the first one that really stands out to me. They have, she's a dessert designer. So this woman started off doing, I think she was working for a couple of different fashion magazines, and she was doing the styling for their photo shoots. So she comes from a background of photo styling. But you can see that she definitely has a very clear brand identity. It's all about these sweet treats. Everything is really well shot. The white balance is always really great in her photos. And pink, peach, purple, whites, these are all the colors that permeate throughout what she's doing. And her food, you always want to reach through the screen. At least I do, because I have a crazy sweet tooth. You want to reach through the screen and just eat everything. Makes me very sad that she is in Australia and that I can't walk down the street and get her delightful treats. So this is somebody who's doing a really good job in terms of knowing what her brand identity is and reinforcing it as much as possible. Another one is Lauren Conrad, and though I know, you know, reality TV star turned fashion blogger, she definitely knows what her brand is, and it's kind of this very soft pastel, princessy, California type vibe. And you can see that all of the photos, you can say, yes, this all looks like it should be on the same Instagram account. The Planetary Society also, I think, does a really good job in terms of knowing what they're posting. So they have a darker feed for the most part, because a lot of their photos are space photos. But they do a really great job of having these really great high quality images on their account. So you can see that it's a mix between really cool space photos as well as pictures of members of the Planetary Society showing them what they're up to and what they're doing. So you get a good mix of what's happening in terms of their advocacy work and inspirational photos and just interesting photos about space. So I think that they do a good job. Fox Racing is another brand that does a really great job. So Fox Racing is like extreme sports, and you can see that they have very vibrant colors and very much action shots of whether it's motocross or just their team, even them just sitting around. It does have kind of this movement to it. There's always these really bright colors. So I think that they've done a really good job of reinforcing that their brand is about action and excitement and movement with just the colors and the actual photos that they're posting. And these are professionally done photos. This isn't necessarily somebody with an iPhone. This is somebody with like probably a DSLR camera snapping photos of these action shots. Creaky Press is another one that I think does a really good job. So this is an arts and crafts embroidery kits that you can buy online or in stores, and she posts a lot of just her works in progress, and her colors are always very vibrant. She's always got great white balance, and it's very much about the work that she's doing. So it's always kind of crafty embroidery type images, so she always stays very true to her brand and what they're doing. And that doesn't mean that she can't have photos of people. Photos of people typically get more engagement, more likes, more comments, things like that, because people like to look at other people. We identify with other people. But she also does definitely inspire and show different tips and techniques and things like that. Buffer, I'd mentioned before, so they really focus on brand reinforcement, and they have images from people all over the world. They do a lot of inspirational quotes in their comments, but you can see that they have these very bright pops of color. They've got these bright pink pops. They've got these turquoisey kind of colors. There's always one color, like in this one, it's the red that pops. And so they do a really good job of making sure that their photos are well edited and very crisp and clear. And so that is the type of content that they're posting. And I think that they do a really good job. And it's always really interesting to see what they're posting, where they're posting from, things like that. It's all very cool. And then finally, let's take a look at Nike. So Nike, obviously a shoe brand or a sports athletic gear brand, they do a lot of inspirational type of posts. And I think that they're really reinforcing the just do it type of look and feel. So it's a lot of pictures of their sponsored athletes. It's a lot of inspiration. There's a little bit of behind the scenes. And so I think they do a really good job of showcasing their brand, but also not always focusing specifically on their product, but focusing on the people who use their product and who have been inspired and who do amazing things with their product. So I think that Nike's also doing a really good job. Okay, let's talk about our content plan. So when we're planning for Instagram, you're still wanting to be strategic as you are with any other social media platform or any other content platform. So you want to be thinking of what type of post are you going to be publishing? Is it going to be a photo? Is it going to be a series of photos? Is it going to be a video? Are you going to update an Instagram story? So what type of post is that going to be? What is the actual visual that you're going to be posting? So even if you are using your account to be behind the scenes, or maybe you're going to be doing events and things like that, and all of your photos are going to be up on your Instagram account, you still want to be pre-planning your shot list. So if you are a not-for-profit and you are going to be posting photos from your gala fundraiser, for example, you're going to want a shot list. So even though you're not going to know exactly how those shots are going to pan out, you know that you're going to want the picture of your president and vice president together. You're probably going to want to try and get a staff photo. You are going to want to get your major donors into photos with your president. If you have big sponsors, title sponsors, you want to make sure that you are getting photos with their logos in the shot, so that when you're posting, they're getting all of those things that you had promised them in the sponsorship package. You're doing behind the scenes for some sort of product. Maybe you're a clothing company and you want to showcase how your clothing is made. Well, that's great. You don't know exactly, how that is going to look necessarily until you're there and you see it and you get the lighting done, but you know that you're going to want to get a shot of somebody sewing a shirt, or somebody sizing a shirt, or sewing in buttons. So you want to have an idea of what your shots are actually going to be, especially if you're doing events and you're covering an event because you are running the event. You want to make sure that you know who your key people are that you need to get photos of, or the key actions that people are going to be taking. You need to think about the quality of your content. So I'd mentioned it before, lighting is everything. Most smartphones now have decent enough cameras that you can be posting on Instagram, whether it's the video or just straight up photo. There should be a good enough quality there. But if you are going to be doing video, you might want to think about investing in a small microphone that you can use. There are a lot of different mics that you can get, like external microphones for your smartphone to help with the sound. There are great deals on lighting, portable lighting that you can get on Amazon. And I'm sure that a lot of local electronic stores have lighting that you can use as well. So you do want to be thinking about quality. And if you know that you can't afford to get a microphone or to get external lighting, then you need to be planning around that. So you want to be looking for places where there's great natural light, where the sound doesn't echo too much, and things like that. You also want to think about what your schedule is for posting. So do you have enough content to be posting once a day? If not, that's fine, but you need to know what your schedule is. Are you aiming for once a week? Are you going to do twice a week? Instagram, for the most part, is not one of those places where people get annoyed if you're posting too much. Obviously, if you're posting like 6 times, like back to back to back, that doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense for your brand, but you could be posting 2 to 3 times a day as long as it's spaced out. People follow a lot of other people on Instagram, a lot of other accounts on Instagram, so it's not like you're going to be overwhelming their feed. You want to think about your captions in advance, and you want to be thinking about the hashtags. So you want to do some research on the hashtags that people are using. If you're a fashion company, you need to know that hashtag OOTD is outfit of the day, and that fashionistas all around the world, or at least all around the English-speaking world, are posting their hashtag OOTDs, outfits of the day, every morning. So you want to be in tune with what those people are doing. So you can find some of the influencers from the fashionistas of Instagram, look at some of the hashtags that they're using, and you can determine whether or not some of those are relevant for you. And then you want to think about your themes. So are you wanting to post behind the scenes content? Are you wanting to post inspirational content? And I'm calling these themes because they are, or you could refer to them as content buckets if you'd like. What are the different types? I don't want to use type because we already said that for the medium, but you don't want to be posting all of the same types of things. You don't want to be posting just inspirational quotes necessarily. So you want to think about, or if you are posting just inspirational quotes, what are the literal themes that you're going for? Are you going for, inspiration for entrepreneurs? Is it inspiration for athletes? Is it inspiration for religious beliefs? Are you sticking to one religion? Are you doing multiple religions? Is it interfaith? So these are all the types of things that you want to be thinking about when it comes to planning your Instagram content. So just a little bit further in terms of the photos and the videos and the stories. So you want to make sure that if you're uploading multiple photos, you want to select that leading photo very, very carefully. So the way that you do this is when you're in your Instagram account, if you're uploading a photo from your library, not one that you're taking right in the moment. If you look at your library, you can click on one photo, and then a little box will pop up that allows you to select multiple photos. You really want the first photo that people see to be the most captivating photo, which isn't always intuitive, because if you're doing a step-by-step, or if you're trying to show the progress of something, you might think that you need to start with step number 1, but that might not be the most exciting photo. So you want to think about those leading photos really carefully. You really want to think about your subject. You want to make sure that there's purpose behind the post. Again, relevant hashtags. When are you going to post it? What do you need to shoot these things? So these are all of the things that you need to be thinking about when you are developing your strategy for Instagram. And this, of course, doesn't have to happen overnight. Instagram is definitely a learning process for people who are, you might have been using Instagram as an individual for personal use for a long time, but once you flip over and try and get into this platform from a brand mindset, you realize that proper planning is going to make all of the difference. If you've ever worked with any type of media production, like television, radio, any online media consumption now, you will know that there is a ton of planning that goes into everything that happens. Even if it seems like it's kind of off the cuff or on the fly, there's a lot of production and planning that goes into what happens behind the scenes. A lot of those really awesome Instagram accounts that you see where people are looking like effortless and, oh, life is wonderful. Oh, I just totally made this super simple thing and it was effortless and it was so beautiful. These are all incredibly staged photos. And I'm not saying that you have to get to that level with your content, but you do need to be thinking about it from a strategic standpoint, from a branding standpoint, and you want to make sure that you have all of the tools that you need. So you can set goals and work your way up to having professionally done photography if that's what works for your brand, if that is where you think you need to be. But you can also definitely get by with an iPhone and great natural lighting. So I want to talk a little bit about Instagram stories real quick. They are photos and videos that vanish after 24 hours. I like to call it Snapstagram, but that's a pretty lame mom joke. You can find the Instagram stories in the top bar of your newsfeed. So when you log in, any of the things, there will be in your newsfeed, across the top, there will be little circles of people that you follow. And when they've got a bright band around them, that means that there's a new story that you can view. They don't show up in your newsfeed or on your profile grid, and there's no comments or likes associated with it, at least not as of recording this video, because I know that things are changing with Instagram almost daily at this point. Instagram stories have their place, and I think that there are some brands that are doing interesting things with it. So I know that there are some brands that are doing some behind the scenes views where it's like they're only showing people who are viewing it within 24 hours. Some brands are doing 24-hour deals or promos, so you can only get the promo code if you're following their stories, which I think is a really great way to say thank you to your really loyal customers and your loyal Instagram fans, is by, uploading a really great story that talks about, maybe it's like buy one, get one free, or 50% off for 24 hours only. And only if people catch it are they going to get it. They only have 24 hours to get it. So I think that that's really cool. I've seen a couple of brands do account takeovers. So an account takeover is when somebody else starts running your account. So this is great for like collaborations. If you have maybe a guest blogger or a guest designer, or, if you are a big brand like Nike, maybe one of your athletes is going to take over your Instagram account. So this is like a really interesting way for those account takeovers to give a little bit of personality to the account without overloading the feed. You can do Q&As, so the questions are sent to you by your fans via direct message, and then you give your answers in Instagram stories. And then you can also do live content, so and really only when live is necessary. So maybe you're covering an event live and it really only makes sense to have that content available for 24 hours. You can upload it onto stories. So you can get very outside the box with Instagram stories. I feel like you can do the same thing with Facebook, because Facebook has this new feature now as well where you can share your day. So it's really just a matter of brainstorming some ideas, but making sure that you stay relevant for your brand, because you don't want to just be doing something for the sake of doing it. You want to make sure that you are using these tools with a purpose and making sure that it makes sense for your brand and it makes sense for your target audience. You should use a content calendar like you would for any other platform. I know that a lot of you are probably using content calendars that build in all of your platforms, your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, your blog, all of that stuff is in one place. So you definitely want to keep your Instagram content in some sort of calendar. And though your aim might be to get those in the moment shots, you still need to have an idea of the kinds of images you need. You want to know the days and around the times that make sense to post. So you still want to be thinking strategically, even if you are trying to get those behind the scenes in the moment shots. When it comes to engagement on Instagram, there are a few ways that you can do things. So you can, obviously start following relevant users. So you want to think about who inspires you in your brand, who complements the work that you're doing, and you need to make a decision as to whether or not you want to follow your competitors or just watch them. I personally wouldn't follow my competitors necessarily because people can see who you follow, but I would potentially, keep a list somewhere of the URLs to my competitors' Instagram profiles just so I can check in and see what they're doing. You really need to make sure that you're being human. Just because you're on Instagram as a brand doesn't mean that people aren't expecting interaction from you. So like and comment on other users' content. When you start to follow people, make sure that you're following them because you truly want to see what they're posting. So you can like and you can comment and you can interact with people. And I would recommend that you still steer clear of anybody using the follow for follow tags, like for like, get followers type of garbage, because you're not going to get high quality content. I know, so somebody posted, I'm sorry, I can't remember who posted on our Facebook group, but there was a great post about Instagram pods and how Instagram pods are starting to be a thing. So an Instagram pod is basically a group of like-minded people who are coming together and they are making sure that they like and comment on each other's new Instagram posts to try and cheat Instagram's algorithm. So when Instagram first started, the algorithm was that you saw whatever was the most recent post from people. So it was 100% a timeline. Now it is more of an algorithm like Facebook. So you might not see all of your friends' posts as they're posting them. It'll be determined, that feed that you see is determined based on how many people are liking and commenting and saving those photos that are being posted. So from a brand perspective, if you have really low engagement, then you're going to get dinged. You're going to want to think about why you have really low engagement. Is it because your content doesn't match your audience? Is it because it's too low quality and people it's not popping? Maybe you're posting at the wrong times. So there could be a lot of different reasons. It might not just be that the algorithm is, screwing you over. It could be because your content isn't great. But so there are these pods where people are getting together and they are trying to, first of all, it's a great way to meet people that are like-minded, and second of all, it's a great way to get people to engage with your content. To find Instagram pods, it seems like Facebook is the place that people are going to. So you can search Instagram pods in Facebook search, and you'll see that there are a bunch of different groups. They're listed as closed, but you can actually request to be in the group, they'll invite you in, and then you have to follow the rules of their Instagram pod. So most of them say, like, if you start spamming us like multiple times a day to go and comment on your post, it's not going to happen. Some of them say that you can only do it once a week or maybe twice a week. So you need to follow the rules very carefully. And it's really about trying to find people that you can engage with in a very meaningful and organic way. So it's not about just finding people to like your stuff and, that's that. It really is about finding your community and finding a group of people that want to help you because it makes sense for them to do that. I've also seen people using the hashtag Instapod or Instagram pod, but I find that a lot of that is similar to the follow for follow, like for like type junk. So I would say investigate Instagram pods with caution and always make sure that you are being legit. Make sure that you're not trying to be skeezy and just get as many followers or get as many likes as you possibly can without putting in the effort of having good content and doing the background research about your audience personas. Okay, let's talk about advertising. Advertise on Instagram. You have to have an Instagram business account, and you also have to have a Facebook advertising account, which we all do because we set those up for our assignment. So you can advertise through Facebook, as a lot of you saw. We unselected Instagram for placements when we were going through the Facebook ads platform. But now you can experiment on your own with some Instagram advertisements, and you can also advertise through the Instagram backend. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Take a look at what it looks like to advertise on Instagram through the Instagram platform. So here I am opening my app. It opens up to my feed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate over to my profile and select on the photo that I want to promote. And I'm going to hit on the promote button. And I want people to visit my website. My objective is to promote my website. My website link is not the one that's in here right now because that was from a previous advertisement. Just going to put the proper URL in. Done. And I'm going to, so these are the different action buttons that you can use. And I'm going to use the learn more because that just seems to be the most appropriate. It's not a video. I'm not asking people to buy things or book anything. I'm not people asking to sign up or contact me. So really learn more is the most effective. So now it's time to choose your audience. I already have an audience preset. So this is what it looks like if you want to create your own. You click on create your own and then you give it a name. So for this one, I'm just going to put test. You can choose your locations. So you can start typing in locations. So if I wanted to, I could say Toronto if I wanted to get really specific. I can say different countries. So I'm just going to hit done there. Then you can go and give interests. So you can choose between 4 and 10 interests, and if you start typing, you'll be able to see different types of interests that exist. So you could say home ownerships. So if you're specifically targeting to people in Australia, then they've got a home ownership in Australia. Maybe you could do like home renovations, home improvement and repair. So you can go through and find whatever interests best suit your brand and go back to your audience personas for these. It makes the most sense to use what you've already created. Although your audiences might be slightly different on different platforms depending on what you decide each platform's goal is, you should still be informed by your audience profiles. Then you can use the sliders to select your age and your in the gender that you're trying to target, and then you just hit the done button and it will save. But I'm not going to do that because I don't want to get things all bunged up in here. Okay, so I'm going to use my my arts and crafts wrap for this one. Then I hit the back button, so now that is set as my audience. I'm going to set my overall budget. I'm going to do $5 and in 1 day. So in 24 hours, we're going to see what happens with this. I already have my credit card information because that's in my Facebook account. And then I just hit create promotion. This is a preview of what my ad is going to look like in people's feeds, which is great. And then you can see across the top that my advertisement has been sent for review. So it's currently set to pending approval. So if I go into my feed, I can see all of my regular posts, but this one is set to pending approval. And once that gets approved, then you will start to get information about insights and things like that. But again, this is what the promotion is going to look like. So it's going to have that sponsored button underneath it. There's going to be the Learn More tab, and the Learn More is going to take you to, oh, I guess I can't do that in preview mode. There we are, learning things. The Learn More will take you to the website. So that is pending approval, and we'll see what happens after the advertisement has been approved and once it starts running for a little while longer. So I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm going to post an update in our Facebook group about that advertisement that you just saw me go through. I'm still set to pending approval, and I've waited as long as I possibly could to upload this video and to put the information in, but it's not working as fast as it has in the past. I've never been set to pending approval for this long, so hopefully that advertisement works properly. But as I said, I'll post an update in the Facebook group later this week. I just wanted to make sure that you guys got your video on time. Okay, there are tools that you can use to help manage your Instagram account, and some of them will be better than others, as with anything out there. Instagram has not opened up their API to let anything post on your behalf. So both Buffer and Hootsuite, and there are many others out there that have what they call Instagram integration. But basically what you do is you pre-populate your photo and your caption, and then you set a reminder, and then that reminder sends a push notification to your phone where it says, you know, post on Instagram now, and then you manually actually do the post on your Instagram account. So that can be helpful if you're managing multiple accounts, or if you are finding that you're having a hard time posting things on a specific schedule. I find it to be a bit cumbersome, but it is there for you to play with. So let's take a look at these different tools. Now, I'm not going to go too in depth with anything, but everything that's here you can get a free trial of. There's a free version of Planoly. There's a free version of Followers Plus. I think it's Followers Plus. And you can do a 14-day free trial of Iconosquare. And I've put the links to all of these in your additional reading section for this week. So there's a tools section in your additional reading. So this is Iconosquare. And this is for my account, so you're welcome. You get to see the back end. These are all of the posts that I have. So when you log in, you get, you basically are at your profile. So you get your, your home feed. And then you can dig a little bit deeper by clicking on the left-hand menu. So you can get yourself a little bit of an overview of your analytics. You get your basics, total followers, how many people you're following, the number of likes that you've received overall, and the total comments that you've received. You can also take a look based on timelines of, you can, sort things by photo and video, and you get a quick little update about what is happening in terms of your engagement, so your likes and your comments. You get a good look at your follower growth. You can see your gained and your lost followers. You can get a sense of, just like in terms of the past 7 days, how your community has been changing, the people that have unfollowed you, the people that have followed you, your likes, your comments, like all of the typical stuff that you would expect. And then overall, you can see kind of like the history of how things are going, what your like rate is, the talk rate, your engagement rate. And then if you want more information about each of these metrics, you can hover over the little information circle and you'll get a great little overview of what that means. Sorry guys, I don't know why I'm yawning today. I think I'm just thirsty. You also get a chance to see some of your best content in terms of engagement. So you can see your most liked photos, your most commented on photos, your most engaging photos. And again, you can see that, why do they call this most engaging? It's the media that's received the most engagement, which is updated every hour. So engagement would be likes and comments. So this is your overview. And then you can kind of dig down a little bit more in terms of what your communities look like. So gained and lost followers, you can see that like things go up and down, up and down, up and down in terms of, and I've got another app that you'll see that really looks at that more. The gained and lost followers is, you never know how that's going to go in terms of people playing the follow-unfollow game. You can get a deeper dive into your content. So you can change your information so you can see all of the different posts that you have, which takes us back. Not exactly that helpful. So here you can see what your post distribution looks like. You can take a look at your tag usage. So these are the tags that you most often use. So this can be helpful when you're trying to see, based on your target audience, you know, what are the things that they're talking about? What are the things that they're interested in? Are you using those tags enough? So you can take a look at your engagement as well. You can see over the past 30 days what your likes have been like, the average likes that have been received, the comments that you've received, and then your average comment per post. You can take a look at your likes history, and then you've got your best time to post, which is, so that can be really helpful. And then you can check out your hashtag performance. So what's the engagement rate based on each of the posts that, based on the tags that you're using. So that can be really helpful if there's one that's a major standout. Just be careful. Take a look at your, the engagement rate across the bottom here. I mean, do I think that there's necessarily a difference between a 65% and a 70% engagement rate? I don't know. I haven't run any stats on that to see if there is actually a difference in these averages. So you have to keep that in mind. I know that this isn't a stats course, but when we're talking about significant differences, there is nothing here to tell me that there is a significant difference between 60 and 65% or 65 and 70%. So, you know, just because it looks like there's a big space here doesn't mean that there was, you know, tons more engagement on the word peaches versus tie-dye. You know what I mean? So you have to be careful when you're using this information that you don't just start posting with one hashtag. Things still need to be relevant, but you can get a sense of, you know, maybe all of your food-based hashtags are performing better than your craft-based hashtags, which is relevant for my brand. But for your brand, maybe tags related to your product are doing much better than tags that are related to sale or buy or something like that. So you just want to keep those things in mind. You can check out your filter impact. So, you know, are there filters that are doing better than others? I think this really is only useful if you are using your filters in the beginning at the same on the same ratios. So I normally edit my photos outside of Instagram before I post them. And it's not a ton of editing. I just kind of do like a white balance edit, and I'll sometimes, you know, change the contrast a little bit depending on the lighting that I had. So it's not huge edits. I'm not totally photoshopping them into something that they weren't in the first place, but it just means that I'm not using a lot of the custom Instagram filters. So this is not something that's very useful for me. And similarly, you know, in terms of comments, there's not going to be much of a difference for me. So you can take a look at competitors. You can add competitors. I haven't done that for mine. You can manage some hashtags through here. And there's a lot of really interesting tabs as well that you can go through. So you can do scheduling through Iconosquare. So you get the mobile app, and you can download that for free. So you can try it with your free trial. And then you can use this as your content planner. This is Iconosquare. I highly recommend signing up for the free trial. There's a link in your additional reading section under tools. And I think that it's, you can play around with it and see kind of how things work and what some of the different tools are that you can use. So next one we're going to look at is Planoly. So this is Planoly. Again, you can sign up for a free account. And this is just a way for you to plan out your content. So I've done a test here. It's been scheduled. On your add new media, you click a placeholder, you pick your color. You can also put your own photos, and you can say test 2. You can add it. And this one is unscheduled right now. So I can look at all of my unscheduled ones, and I can see where things are going to fit. So I can go from like a weekly perspective. You know, I can say that this one is going to go here. And then when you look at your schedule, you can kind of see how things are going to play out in terms of what they're going to look like. Where did that go? So you'll be able to see once everything is scheduled kind of how your posts are going to lay out, how they're going to look beside each other. And then you'll also be able to see what your timelines are. So you have to download their app for your smartphone as well so that you can get your push notifications. So this is just another way to have a content calendar, and it's specific for Instagram. And we can look at Followers Plus. This one is Followers Plus. This is what it looks like once you've downloaded it. I've upgraded to a paid version, and so that costs me $10 a year. Pretty cheap. So this kind of gives you a bit of information of who's followed you, who's unfollowed you, who is following you but you're not following back. If people have blocked you, you can get that information. So I find it to be interesting to get that information. And I find that it can kind of give you insight into who's playing the follower or follow unfollow game, which I absolutely hate on Instagram. It's super annoying. It makes your follower count go up and down and all over the place. So people will start following you just to get you to follow them back, and then as soon as you follow them back, they will unfollow you. It is the most annoying thing in the world. I find it to be a really shady practice on Instagram. I think that it's how a lot of people are driving up their follower counts, and I think it really just like preys on people's egos and things like that. So I really hate it. It's super, super annoying, and it's really not a great way to build a loyal following, because you're really looking to find great connections on Instagram. And just because somebody follows you doesn't mean that you have to follow them back, for sure. But if you find an account that you think is really great, and you start following each other and you have a bit of a repertoire going back and forth, and then that person unfollows you, it just kind of feels not great. Like, it's not real connections that people are making, that people are just in it for the vanity metrics. So here you can take a look at who your new followers are. So I can go through and follow and unfollow people really quickly here. So you can just click the follow button, which is really cool. So now you can start following people. You can find out who has recently unfollowed you. So, you know, these are probably people playing the follow unfollow game, which is, you know, not really my thing. I can check to see who I'm following and who's not following me back. So it's just interesting information. I'm following a ton of different accounts on Instagram because I always find really cool, creative people, and I just love to see what they're up to. You can see who I'm not following back. So at some point, I'll go through this and take a look to see who is following me that I'm not following back that I might really like. Magically Crafted probably is somebody that I will end up following. So this is a way for me to say, like, oh, these are people that are in my community who legitimately want to see what I'm up to. So, you know, let's see what they're up to as well. What else do we have here? We've got users who've blocked me. That's 0. That makes me smile. And then people who have deleted their likes and comments. So somebody had apparently liked this page and decided that or this post of strawberry plants, and then decided that they didn't want to like that anymore. So, I mean, it is what it is. You can see your follower growth. So you can see how people have gone up and down. And this is definitely the follow unfollow game. So you can see that I had, you know, about 220 likes, and then it dropped a bunch over a couple of days, and then it went up a bunch, and now it's dropping again. So these are people playing the follow unfollow game. It's really, really annoying, and I hate it. And then it's kind of a similar look of the gained followers and lost followers in this chart. So then you can take a look at your audience. You can see the users that I like but that aren't following me, following people that I've never actually liked. So I've started to follow them, but I've never gone through and actually liked any of their content. And I might have followed people because I found their account and liked it, or maybe I followed them because I was reading their blog, went to the Instagram account, followed them, thinking I'll go back and review this later, and then never got a chance to. So I can go through and look and say, oh, here are some really cool things that they're doing. The only problem with this app is that you can't actually like and comment or do any type of interactions through this app. So then I have to go back to my Instagram account, or I have to open profile in Instagram. It'll switch me back over to Instagram, and then I can go through and I can like her stuff in this way. So then I can go right back to my follower account. So it's a bit of a process, not the worst thing ever. But that's how that section works. I can also check out to see who the oldest Instagram users are, who the newest Instagram users are. For me, I don't really care about that information, but it might be useful for you, especially if you're looking for people to connect with who've been on the platform for a really long time and might have some good insights. You can see people who have requested to follow you, so that is interesting, really, if you have a private account, which I don't. You can take a look at users that I've unfollowed, things like that. In your posts, you can find your best posts and your worst posts. So you can find what is the least popular. These for me are probably going to be my older posts or my brand new post. Your least liked photos, you can find the least commented, or you can look at your most popular stuff and see, you know, what is resonating with people. And I find that this is really interesting because it can help you see over time. I mean, I would let these posts kind of sit for a little while before you determine whether or not it's popular or not, or at least get yourself kind of going on Instagram to see what's more popular. And once you have more regular content, you'll be able to use this in a more meaningful way. So I do have fairly regular content on my Instagram account. So I trust these numbers for the most part. So you can see what's resonating with people. And, you know, you can make yourself a little Excel spreadsheet and tag things. So it's like, is it arts and crafts? Is it food? Is it DIY projects for you and your brand? Think about it. Is it product posts? Is it behind the scenes? Is it, um, inspirational quotes? So if you have those different kind of content buckets of the types of posts that you're creating or the subjects that you're creating, figure out which ones are doing best and post more of them and see how that affects your Instagram game. So those are the most popular. You can see the most liked. You can see the most commented. So that's interesting. You can look at your engagement rate. So you can see, based on your followers, who comments and likes the most on your account. So this is what I would expect. It's my mother-in-law and my mother who have the most comments on my account. But this is a good way for you to find fans of yours that are really engaging with you. And this can be a way to, surprise and delight people. So you can find somebody who's following your account and, they comment and they post all the time. And maybe you've noticed that intuitively, but this can tell you, oh, these are the people that are really engaging with my account. And maybe you can send them a little direct message and say, like, we just want to say thank you so much for the support over the past couple of weeks, and we just wanted to give you a coupon code, or we wanted to send you a thank you package with some stickers and some promo goodies or whatever. So that can be really important. Secret admirers are, you can find out who likes and comments the most on your stuff. I mean, I comment back to people. This isn't me just like randomly commenting on my posts. This is me having conversations with people. And then you can also find people who don't comment or like at all. And this could actually be helpful if you are running a contest and, or I don't know, looking to see if maybe you have some sort of sponsorship deal or something like that, and somebody is supposed to be commenting and liking on your profiles. You can check to see if that person's actually fulfilling their requirements. And then you can search for different users. So off the top of my head, Nectar and Stone. And then you can just take a look at their profile. And then from here, you can also, open an Instagram or whatever you want to do. So that's what Followers Plus looks like. Let's take a look at your assignment. So this week, you are going to be thinking strategically about your Instagram account. So this one is probably going to take you a little bit of time to get through, so don't leave it to the last minute. So I want you to think about, why are you on Instagram? What's your marketing goal for the platform? Think about what you're trying to achieve on Instagram and consider some of the goals that were discussed in lecture. So the stuff that I talk about in lecture is really the things that I want you to be thinking about. And for some of you on your assignments, you've been kind of going way in left field and not drawing on the things that we talked about in lecture, not drawing on the things that are talked about in your additional readings. So do make sure that you're thinking about what we've gone through in lecture today. You also want to think about how your goals fit with your brand. So you might think that it's like a totally cool idea to have Instagram be the behind your scenes look, but does that fit with your brand? Does that fit with what your target audience is going to be wanting to see from you? So you just want to make sure that your goals match what your brand is all about. Think about your content plan. So I'm not looking for an in-depth plan like I was with your Facebook content plan assignment. What I want to know is, how often are you going to post? Are you going to be doing it daily? Are you going to be doing a couple times a week? So what is your posting schedule going to look like? What types of content? So is it going to be behind the scenes photos? Are you going to do videos, stories, stage projects, or strays? So what is it that you are going to be showcasing in your content? What's going to drive your calls to action, and what will they be? So are you going to be writing blogs and then uploading a photo that gets people to click back to your blogs? Are you going to be uploading products that people should be buying from you? So what are the calls to actions going to be? And then I just want basically like a yes or no. Do you already have a brand guideline document? And I just want this to be something that you're really thinking about. If you don't have a brand guideline document, I don't want you to submit it either way. And I don't want you to create one for this assignment, but it's just something that you need to be considering. I have in your additional reading section, there are some templates of brand guideline document creation where it just asks you some questions and you can work through it over time with people that you work with and figure out what you want your brand to be. And I highly recommend doing that if you haven't done it already. But again, not for this assignment. Please don't submit it. As much as I would love to be able to spend time doing that type of stuff in this class, we just unfortunately don't have the time to do it. Next, I want you to think about your follower guidelines. So what types of accounts will your brand follow on Instagram? What are some of the guidelines to help you find relevant accounts? And will you follow your competitors or just make a note to watch them? So this is really important because I think it will help you drive your engagement. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to be following too many accounts. I want there to be like more people following me than I'm following. And I get that from like a psychological perspective, that can make a difference in terms of whether or not somebody's going to follow you. But if you're just starting out on Instagram, it's fine to be following a bunch of different accounts to see, as long as they're relevant, to see what you like, to see what those people are all about, to get a sense of whether or not, yes, this is a person that I want to follow. I totally like their brand. I like what they're up to. Or maybe, it's not worth it. You can find some of your fans of your products. So, if you're a watch company, has anybody been posting about those watches? If you are a real estate agent, are your clients on Instagram and do they have open accounts? Because it would be really great for you to be able to follow those people and engage like a real human being with them. So just think about why you're going to follow people. What types of things are you going to be looking for from the people that you follow, and how will that impact your brand? Are you going to use some monitoring tools? Which ones do you think you'll use? And this is just to get you thinking about when it comes to analyzing what you're doing, how are you going to measure your success? It's totally fine if you just want to use the back-end Instagram analytics that come built in. And then for promotion, how are you going to promote your account? Are you going to use advertisements? Are you going to use straight up engagement? If you are advertising, what's your budget going to be? How often will you run advertisements? And what will your overarching goals be? Are you going to be looking for account growth? Do you want people to click on your links? Do you want people to engage with your posts? And if you're doing engagement as opposed to advertisements, what is your game plan? Are you going to try and comment on, 6 different accounts every day? Are you just going to like a bunch of photos? How is that going to get you anywhere? So you want to think about those types of things. Marketing rubric is pretty straightforward. In terms of how to set this assignment up, I would be totally fine if you just copied this, pasted it into a new document, and answered the questions below each section. That would be fine with me in terms of the layout. So this is your assignment. The due dates are all in Blackboard, and this is the final assignment for this class. I know, let's all shed a collective tear together. Your marks will be updated shortly, and next week we have the guest lecture from Scott Stratton, which I'm very excited about. I'm going through and editing that right now. We had a little bit of technical issues on my end of things in terms of weird feedback, but hopefully I'll be able to edit it so that it's watchable for us, which is really great. And then we'll also probably do a video on case studies that you can take a look at as well. So take your time with this assignment. I mean, start it early and get yourself going with it, because I think it might be a different thought process than a lot of you have been using in terms of Instagram. So it might be a bit of a switch in terms of getting your brain in the right mindset for it. So I don't want you to leave it to the last minute, because then you're going to be scrambling, and nobody likes to scramble. Anyways, that's it for me. Thanks for everything, and I'll see you on Facebook.